everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Learning the Bible and More. My name is Stacy, and I hope you're having a great day. And I know Labor Day is coming up. A little secret. 40 years ago, I was in labor on Labor Day. So fun. Yeah, my oldest son, he didn't want to come out. I was going into my 10th month. But my youngest son, he couldn't wait to come, see the world. All right. So we are on day 26. And I also have a new book I just ordered. So stand by, folks. And I just want to give a shout out to my friend Sue, who's going to be having surgery soon. And I know she can't wait to get that done and over with. And so, hello, Sue, if you watch this. If not, that's okay. All right. So, in John chapter 3, verse 16 through 18, it reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but will have eternal life. So for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world. No, he didn't come here to browbeat us, so to speak. But in order that the world might be saved through him. So whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name, the only Son of God." So, yeah, I mean, who wants to be condemned, Not me. Anyway. Okay, so now we're in Northwest China, and the year is 2003. It seems like a long time ago. Sometimes it just feels like it was a few years ago, really. So it reads, it was the middle of winter and cold. And that was just inside out and inside our hotel. Oh boy. Hey, stepmom. Look, my stepmom was a lovely lady. And if you watch this, hi, Mom. But I remember those days, and mind you, okay, Jimmy Carter was president back then. I didn't, I was just a little girl, so I didn't know about the high interest rates and all that fun stuff. I do remember standing in line for that cheese. And, but I do remember waking up in the morning and you could see your breath in the wintertime. So yeah, I had to share a bathroom with like 4 other sisters. So, and plus, we had 3 brothers. And so I always wanted to get up in that, early, get in there and get out. So that stuck with me to this day. I have a good OCD. All right. So we were near the far western edge of China and also in the midst of a battle. As is often the case under the Communist Party leadership in China, the battle was not for physical territory, but psychological territory. The Chinese government wants to control its people. Government leaders want the first loyalty of every person to be the party of the state. Keep that in mind. In this part of China, the people are traditionally Muslim. Their first language is not the Mandarin Chinese of the party, but the Turkic tongue Uyghur. To ensure control of the area, the Chinese government was importing thousands of ethnic Han Chinese people to drown out or at least dilute the Uyghur culture influence. Being Uyghur in the eyes of the Chinese government was one strike against you. Being a Christian and a Uyghur? That meant trouble on every side. We were tourists during the day, walking the streets, shopping in the bazaar, and taking pictures everywhere. It was only after dark we could meet with Christians in the city, and we couldn't go to them. That would draw way too much attention. They came to us. A man I'll call Ali was a student when he began to wonder about the tension between his Uyghur people and the Han Chinese. He wondered there was a way he could help his people avoid the heavy-handed oppression of the Chinese people and government. His first thought was surely Islam would offer a way to do so. As he was pondering these big questions, Ali met a Christian man. Ali told us he didn't particularly like the Christian, yet he found himself drawn almost inexplicably to the man's message. He began to study Christianity, wondering if maybe this was the thing which could bring peace to the world, to the people. I had discovered many bad things in Islam, Ali told us. Many things I couldn't accept. In Islam, there was no justice or righteousness, so I began to study the Bible. Ali's father was a leader of the local mosque. His brother had gone away to study Islam under the Taliban in Afghanistan. This was not a family that would easily accept one of his members showing interest in Christianity. And they didn't. When they discovered Ali was reading the Bible, they burned the book. "Don't ever read that book again," they told him. "It's all wrong. It's all been changed." The next day was the weekly day of prayer. As Ali's family prepared to go to the mosque, Ali announced that he would not be going with them. From that moment on, his family opposed him in every way. Soon after, he was kicked out of the family home. "I am no longer your father," his father told him, "and you should never come home again." But the family wasn't satisfied just to make Ali homeless. His father also visited his school loudly, complaining that staff clearly weren't monitoring the students. Because if they were doing their jobs, his son wouldn't have become a Christian. Fearing arrest, Ali dropped out of school and left the area. He moved to a place where he had relatives, but the relatives had been told by Ali's father he was no longer a Muslim and they turned him away. Former friends also refused to welcome him or help him in any way. Sleeping on the streets or wherever he could, Ali soon became sick. He ended up in the hospital. Normally in China, family members bring food to the patient, but Ali's family had deserted him. Yet even there, God provided a sympathetic nurse, brought food for him. And Ali told us that without the food, he would probably have died. Sitting and hearing Ali's story, I could picture blow after blow to Ali's young faith. Yet he withstood every onslaught. He refused to back down. He refused to let go of Jesus. And at every point in his story, God sustained him. So yeah, if you don't forget about God, he won't forget about you. I mean, he doesn't anyway. That's why I say he waits for us to call upon him. And so when the bill for Ali's hospital stay, when it came due, God provided funds to cover the amount. Now, out of school and with no home, Ali needed a job. But who would hire a young man who not only hadn't finished school, but also was a Christian? Miraculously, at just the right time, a job was offered to him. Every step of the way, Ali could see God's hands protecting him, providing for him, and as a young student, Ali had wondered what could bring peace to his Uyghur people. Now, He walked daily with the Prince of Peace and longed to share Jesus with more of his people. One of the questions I often ask persecuted Christians I meet is, what is your favorite Bible verse? Ollie's verse is the one that probably every Christian can recite by heart, and that's John 3:16. And God says he loves all the people, Ollie explained. And I love that verse because I love my people too. If the whole world believed Christianity, there would be peace, he said. And that is so true and very, just amazing. And so, yes, here in America, we welcome all religions as long as it doesn't break the law. Just keep that in mind. So, all right, so now we're on day 27, and this is called a funeral sermon. And so in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15 is, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. And so now we're in Central Asia, and the year is 2002. It's like we go backwards and forwards. It reads, it was the first time I seen a man cry at the recall of his torture. The tears pooled in the corners of Pastor Regamon's eyes, then slid out and down his cheeks. It was a hot summer day, but there was a breeze off the captain's sea. As we sat outside his home, making it almost pleasant, I was beaten, he told us, his voice quiet but thick with emotion. So many times I was beaten, but in the next breath, he told us that he prays for his persecutors. I can't do anything about them, he said. I just pray. Much had changed in his country. In the 10 years since the Soviet Union came apart and his country gained independence. But one thing hadn't changed. Being a Christian and telling others about Jesus would result in persecution. The people of Central Asia were coming out of 70 years of communist domination, which included atheistic indoctrination and a distrust and mockery of any and all religion expression. But as communism faded, what was rising in its place was an Islamic identity that didn't like Christianity any more than the communists had. The communists thought Christians were troublemakers. Radical Muslims saw them as apostates worthy of death. Pastor Regamov was one of the first among his countrymen to follow Jesus. He'd seen the boot heel of communist oppression, and he'd seen the rising tide of radical Islam as well. He'd suffer under both, yet persecution and oppression couldn't stop him from sharing about Jesus. If he was in a village, whatever the reason might be, he assumed God wanted him to share the gospel with the villagers. If police detained him, he assumed it was the policeman who God was trying to reach. And if a group of radical Muslims would accost him, then it must be them God was sending him to witness to. He shared with us how his passion and boldness play out in real situations. On one occasion, he arrived in a rural village just as the funeral procession for one of the village leaders was beginning. Seeing an opportunity, Regamov's truck struck up a conversation with the two mullahs, which are scholars of Islamic teaching, who were to preside over the funeral. He asked them what they thought had happened to the deceased man after he took his final breath. The mullahs could not provide him with a definitive answer. Why are you even here if you don't know the answers to these important questions? Regamov challenged them. If you are so clever, one of the mullahs replied, why don't you speak at the funeral? This was an opportunity the pastor couldn't pass up. He walked forward and took a position beside the coffin, holding the body of the dead Muslim. He spoke about the hope of eternity in presence of God through Jesus Christ. His audience listened carefully. The 150 people included the 2 mullahs as well and the village policeman. Following the end of the funeral service, many of the villagers came forward to speak with Regamov. They kissed him on both cheeks, a sign of acceptance and respect in their culture. This mullah is better than any other that we've heard, they told the Muslim mullahs. We'd like to return to our village. Regamov was happy to honor their request. He went back later and showed the Jesus film. That was one of his happy ending stories, a warm welcome, an open door for the gospel. But there were other stories with much different endings. In one village, just a few months before our conversation, the welcome wasn't nearly as warm. Regamov traveled to a rural village to visit a family there. When he left, the secret police barged into the family's home, copied the IDs of everyone in the family, and told them the next time Regamov came for a visit, they'd better call police immediately. In fact, they were told it would be much better and safer if they would not socialize or cooperate with any Christians. Neither the family nor Pastor Regamov were intimidated. He was making plans when he spoke to return to the village. He remembers the beatings, pain, and sufferings he endured, but he remembers also the hope he felt when he discovered the truth, the gospel message, that God would send his own son as a ransom for the people of Central Asia and everywhere else. The joy Regamov feels in seeing his countrymen hear that message for the first time, in the light in their eyes as they understood the promise of God's love and eternity with Christ is worth far more than the temporary suffering or tears of a physical beating. Yes, and unfortunately, yes, I've been abused in my marriages, and so yes, those of us that have been abused, we have a saying, bruises go away, but words hurt forever or stay with you forever, whether they're good or bad. So, but I tend to remember the good. So that's it for today, folks. And when we come back, we'll be on day 28. And we're going to read and learn about use that for toilet paper. So that ought to be a fun read. So I hope you're enjoying these true stories about persecuted Christians, because yes, my dear brothers and sisters, it goes on today. And so till next time, have a safe Labor Day weekend. And I always try to do something good every day, and but that's just me. I mean, I just really care a lot, and remember to always put God first. He patiently waits for us to reach out to him. We repent, and he answers our prayers when the timing is right. And so have a great weekend. I will see you next week. To be continued.